Good afternoon, guys. It's a beautiful week, beautiful Monday, and as usual, um, it's the lunch break show, and today we'll be focusing on the Italian Grand Prix that happened yesterday in Italy. Quite a few surprises that we saw, and we saw Mercedes, I think, surpassing the record that was held by Ferrari. So I think Mpo will break down what happened. And as usual, Mpo, introduce yourself and let's get started.
Okay, thank you so much once again for having me in this weekend to talk about one of the most interesting sports, that is Formula One and motorsport.
Yeah, I think let's just go straight into the events that happened. We saw Mercedes clinching their seventh consecutive title, constructors title, and one ahead of Ferrari. So does that mean Mercedes are now the greatest team in F1? What does it mean now for the teams that are way behind?
Okay, like you have already mentioned, yesterday it was quite eventful where we saw the Mercedes, the AKA the Silver Arrows, taking their seventh win in a consecutive row for the constructors win. And what does it mean really? Yes, they had, like you mentioned already, they have surpassed the Ferrari, which has been leading the constructors, as in like the legacy or the legacy that Ferrari has kept. So Mercedes are truly now the best team in Formula One as it stands, and they have the best drivers, they have the best cars. And for the other teams, it simply means that they really need to push their socks to gain as much points as possible to finish maybe in a good place in the standings at the end of the season. We are only left with about four races now, and I think one of them is Abu Dhabi, and yeah. So it's going to be quite a mammoth task for other teams to pull up their socks, because Mercedes has already done their job this season.
And then going into yesterday's race, someone had mentioned it was going to be a boring race. His assessment of the track, he mentioned there really isn't enough space for overtaking, and in a way, it was going to affect drivers like your Verstappen, they are good in terms of overtaking.
Yes, it was one of the most interesting places now for the F1 community must be Italy, because looking at other Grand Prix where we didn't see any much eventful events compared to what we saw on the Tuscan GP or your Mugello and your Monza. Imola also got us quite eventful things that happened. Yes, you are quite, he was quite right. It has about, I think, 8 corners, on 10 to 8 corners, and it was not a very good track to actually for the racers to actually cut through, but it also brought quite a number of items that happened, and indeed Imola records one of the most eventful events for F1 this year.
Yeah, and then maybe take us through what happened from the first lap up to the last lap, the events in between, the virtual cars, the collisions that happened.
Okay. This past weekend, we saw the Mercedes, as we had already mentioned earlier on, Mercedes winning their seventh consecutive championship for the constructors, and the German are very untouchable and unstoppable indeed, the German team. And then we saw Lewis Hamilton taking a win from yesterday, and then Valtteri Bottas, his teammate, coming second, and third was Reynolds Daniel Ricciardo coming third, which means which was quite from what we had expected, because Max Verstappen had an issue. Looking at the fact that on the qualifying on the past day, that is on Saturday, we saw the normal way where what we had expected actually, where Lewis Hamilton came first, and then no, Valtteri Bottas taking a pole and Lewis Hamilton coming second and Max Verstappen third. This is something that happens almost every now and then, or something that we usually expect. The only battle that we usually see is on the middle field from your number 4 going down, but something very a lot of things happened this weekend, where we saw Daniel Ricciardo coming third for the second time. He took a podium this season, I think. Yes. And then what happened was Max Verstappen had an issue with his car, which was unfortunate. A number of drivers had retired from this race. Amongst them, I don't know if I would mention all of them. Pierre Gasly, we have your Max Verstappen, we have your George Russell, we have your Kevin Magnussen. I am not sure if I had left anyone there. You remind me. And then he had an issue there with a puncture with his car and a span. That is Max Verstappen. And the first person to retire from this game was an unfortunate. I believe he would have would have been on a podium this weekend, was Pierre Gasly. He was the first person to retire from this. I think they were saying there was water pressure or something, a mechanical problem with his car. I haven't checked with their teams, whatever, to find out what really happened with his car. Even him, he has also noted that this was the team had to retire him earlier. And then your George Russell also had an issue with he it was a genuine mistake, I want to believe, where he was still trying to test the car. There was the match, the race was stopped for some time, and he somehow crashed on something somewhere around the carry something. I'm forgetting that name. So he crashed somewhere around there, and the visual safety car and the safety car were employed in a number of items, and it caused quite a number of changes in this race yesterday. One of the items was, I think Kevin Magnussen had Vettel also, it also affected Vettel's, Sebastian Vettel's results, or his how he finished the race, because he had to speed for a longer period of time, which his pit stop took time. And most people who are not familiar with F1, or who didn't know what really happened, they just saw that as an one of the I think they thought that was one of Ferrari's whatever gimmicks to try to stop Vettel, or whatever they were trying to do. But that was, I don't think that was it. If that was it, and but the other reason was because his wheel nut had crashed or something, and it also affected your Valtteri Bottas again, because if you remember very well, because I was watching there very properly, Valtteri Bottas had a very good start, looking at the fact that he started on pole, and then Lewis Hamilton didn't have a very good start, unfortunately, and then Valtteri Bottas and your Max Verstappen were leading the race. And honestly, I believed that this was going to be a win for Bottas, and it seems luck was not on his side once again this weekend, where we saw whatever happened. It was very unfortunate, and every time it happens, Lewis Hamilton makes sure that he does what is supposed to happen. And I think your Alexander Albon also had a spin, which also affected his result. He finished last, I think P15, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So those are some of the things that really happened. I believe Vettel would have scored points this weekend, but it was unfortunate he finished P30.
But going back to the issue Vettel, there's always conspiracy around whatever. But at times you get to feel and somehow be accommodative of the conspiracy they are around him. He was, I think, when he pitted, he was in P4. If I'm not mistaken. And then with his pit crew, he came out and he was like number 13, I think, on the grid. And it's, as a Ferrari person, and looking at the fact that Vettel is leaving end of the season, I'd say I think they're trying to tarnish his image, or now he's moving and everything like that. But that's just me. I feel Vettel is being
every
hard
Ferrari
guy.
fan knows that.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, every Vettel, I think you are quite different from many people. Many Ferrari fans don't believe that is the reason. They just feel, I think the Vettel fans are the ones who are saying exactly what you are saying. But Ferrari has Ferrari has a history of sabotaging everyone who leaves. And I believe, personally, I do agree with you. They've been doing some gimmicks or something to try to try to demoralize him. But yesterday, I don't think I don't think that was the reason. He pitted for long. That was reasonable enough. I believe that's why he never even went to the media today. Usually they come out to say they are sabotaging me, but he never did that. Yes, I think Perez is one person who actually, Sergio, he's one person who would have finished maybe on podium, and he believes that his team somehow sabotaged him. He was actually he was actually at the top, and he finished P6 or P7. I'm not very sure. I don't have the results with me here, but he's one person who I want to believe. With Sergio, with Checo, I would want to believe that might be the story. Unfortunately, I couldn't finish part of the race, but I want to believe that could be the story. Looking at the fact that what is this guy? His teammate, Lance Stroll. I think Racing Point is trying to continue with Lance Stroll for obvious reasons, because his father owns the team. And people are like, why did you have to release Checo instead of releasing the son, Lance Stroll? And Lance Stroll is getting very bad results every week. I know he hasn't been racing very well. He contracted COVID at one point, and he missed the races and all that. But I feel that the more Sergio is on podiums, doing good results, the more they're being, being hard. So they're trying as much as possible to try to put them at the same level. But Sergio right now, he's looking forward for your Red Bull seat. So he wants to make as good result as possible.
And then looking at the current situation, Bottas and Hamilton, is there a possibility that Hamilton might leave Mercedes?
Yes, they are, because he said that yesterday. He just hinted something like that. So the possibilities of him leaving, to me, I don't think he will leave. I don't think he will leave Mercedes. It's just one of these days. But they are there because if you ask me if it's possible, I would say it's possible because he hasn't signed a contract.
But looking at there's also talk that he might go to Red Bull.
Lewis.
And remember, Lewis. And then remember, there's one spot left. Red Bull that hasn't been allocated yet for 2021. Doesn't that communicate to say Basibetsi Hamilton?
No. If you were saying, if you were saying to me, Lewis is leaving to Racing Point or Aston Martin, I would agree. But right now, obviously, he's not leaving to Aston Martin because we already know who is going to be racing for Aston Martin next year. Because with Aston Martin, the fact that Toto Wolff, the principal of Mercedes, was hinting that he might leave, and the fact that he's also the owner, part owner of Aston Martin or Racing Point, also or maybe Lewis is leaving with him because he's going there. But we already know that Racing Point, Sebastian Vettel will be with Lance Stroll next year. So they are not there. But Red Bull, no. He would rather stick with why? Because there are a lot of things that I think the more we follow the sport, sometimes I cannot explain to you in a way that will be convincing. But the more you follow, Max and Lewis' relationship, Max Verstappen and Lewis, is not a very good. I don't think they would even stick together, because usually these guys with these guys who own this team, they usually take one guy and they put their so already that will mean Max wants to be the first driver. Yes, so it means that he will be the second driver. And I don't think that would work well, because they usually consult with these guys. Max wouldn't want to become, for him to go to Mercedes, he would want to go to the Mercedes. But for Lewis to come to the Red Bull and take his position, that's going to be a war. So I don't see him leaving Mercedes for Red Bull for a while. Unless Mercedes were saying, Lewis, we don't want you. We are preferring Albon or any racer. That's when I would say, maybe he would go to the Red Bull right now. So to me, if he ever sign a contract, he will have to sign it with the Mercedes.
Okay. Back to yesterday's race. I think maybe you can explain what happened during, or the strategy behind the asking Hamilton to pit during the virtual safety car, and how the strategy maybe worked in his favor. I think it was lap. What lap was that? Was it 43?
48.
Lap 48.
I'm not sure. I think 43. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. What was the strategy
your question
behind, what was the strategy behind it? Because it seems as if it worked out in Hamilton's favor.
But we should also note that he was 28 seconds the leading, prior to the visual safety car being employed in that after Esteban. I think one person that we forgot to mention earlier on was Esteban Ocon, the Renault guy who had an issue, and then where the visual safety car had to be employed. So I believe that yes, it was a very good strategy for the Mercedes to pit area. And then, hello?
Yeah, no, I'm still here.
Yes, I was saying that it really worked for the Mercedes, but looking, I wouldn't say it was a very, I don't know where the issue, where people are saying that Lewis, it was a lucky thing, because I was saying earlier on that prior to that, he was already leading 28 seconds ahead of your Bottas and the rest of the crew. So him leading at that particular
Guys, we seem to have lost Paul for a while there. I guess we'll just wait for her to reconnect. So in the meantime, let me just take you through the results from this past weekend. First, it was Lewis Hamilton, P1, and then P2 we had Valtteri Bottas, and then P3 we had Ricardo, and then P4 we have Kuwait from Alpha Tauri, and then my team from Ferrari, Leclerc was number 5th, Perez from Racing Point number 6th, Carlos Sainz from McLaren 7th, Lando Norris from McLaren P8, and then Raikkonen P9, and another Alfa Romeo. Giovanni's got P10. So that's the top 10 from the Italian Grand Prix. And I think for some people say it's a game over. Hamilton has won the championship for the 7th time, so that will be for the 7th time. And Valtteri Bottas not far behind, and so far the top 3, I think they've been decided, and we wait for that from your position 4 to P10. I think it's quite interesting to see who's going to go in fourth. But as from my thoughts, I feel P1, P2, and P3 have been decided for the season, unless anything happens, of which I doubt. So that's how it's going to stand. And then looking at the constructors' standings, we have Mercedes. They won their seventh consecutive title. They have 479 points, and then followed by Louis Verstappen. I think that's one of the emerging talents that we've seen this season. We have Red Bull coming in at 226 points, and then we have Renault coming in at 135, and then we have McLaren coming in at 134, Racing Point also coming in at 134. Ferrari, I think I don't know what has been happening to this Ferrari team. I don't know if it's the drivers or it's the whole organization as a whole. So Ferrari comes in at 103, and then we have the Alpha Tauri at 89, Alfa Romeo at 8, and then Haas at 3, and then one of the shocks. I think it's one of the worst performing teams with the history that it has. Williams, no points at all. So that's the Constructors Championships. So hopefully my guest will reconnect and then we can continue our conversation. But those are some of the key talking points from the Italian Grand Prix that was held this past weekend, and then also some of the worth noting incidents that happened yesterday at the Emilia Grand Prix. We saw Gasly retiring at lap 9. It was due to an engine issue, which ruled him out. And then we also have Verstappen who crashed out in, I think, lap 51. He had mentioned there was a problem with his car, and all of a sudden it just went off the track, and that was a day for him. And then also I think it was a bad day for Red Bull, losing Verstappen, and then Leclerc also had an issue. And then who else did we miss? And then let's reconnect. Welcome back. Hi, Mpo. Mpo? Hello. I think my guest is having a bit of a problem on her side. Hopefully she'll reconnect. So guys, for those that watch Formula One, I think we are close towards the end of the season. Maybe you guys can share your overall impressions about the races that you've seen, how the current table is looking, and also what are your thoughts about the whole issue, Bottas and Hamilton, and then just share your thoughts or pose questions to our guest, and then we can take it from there. Welcome back.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Hello, can you? Yes.
Where were we? I had to hold the fort while you were gone.
Where were we? We were talking about. Forget. I am still forgetting.
I think we're talking about what was it? Max, was it Verstappen's crash? Is it?
Oh, we're talking about Louis, I think. Louis's strategy or something like that.
Yeah, continue.
Oh, okay. Yes, I was saying to you that luck was actually on Louis's side because he, I think, looking at the fact that he had, what actually happened, Bottas and your Max Verstappen were leading the race at that time, and he had dropped to P3, and Esteban Ocon's incident, which led to the employment or the visual safety car being employed at that particular time. He helped Lewis. He pitted later than the rest of them, and he was actually leading by 28 seconds. So that PT actually was a very good strategy for the Mercedes, because afterwards Lewis had to lead the race till to the end and winning his 93 win of in his career and 9 in this season.
Yeah. Then in terms of the driver of the day, the F1 community voted for, was it Raikkonen?
Yes, Kimi.
I
Kimi
don't know what's
Räikkönen.
the logic. Yeah. Do you agree with the driver of the day results?
My drivers today. I have two drivers of the day. I have
Okay.
the two teammates of the Alfa Romeo, and I do agree with the F1 community. The Alfa Romeo side, Kimi Räikkönen and your Antonio Giovinazzi.
Yeah.
They did amazing. Double points. Wow, that was actually amazing. Double points for an Alfa Romeo is very hard. It's not easy. So I think, but with Kimi, I think the F1 community just love him. And every time he performs something miraculous, everyone wants to vote for him. So it's always people wanting to vote for Kimi all the time. So honestly, today I do vote for him as well. I also do vote for Antonio Giovinazzi, the whole team of the Alfa Romeo. They did exceptionally amazing this weekend.
Okay.
It's
And
not
then,
an easy to get points with the team. It's not easy.
I think moving away maybe from the race, from the documentary that I've been watching, Formula One. There seems to be like a huge rivalry between Red Bull and McLaren.
There seems to be.
Like a huge rivalry that's going on behind the background between Red Bull and McLaren.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the, 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 there was one incident. Again, remember Ricardo moved from Red Bull going to McLaren, and then after he left, that's where Red Bull terminated their contract with was it with Renault?
Penalty, yes.
Yeah. So in terms of is it kind of go hella, or is it something that what we do not know anything around that issue?
I'm not quite sure because I haven't watched that the documentary. I want to believe it's the what do you call it? I've watched the season one of it, but I am not quite sure what the usually I would be aware of the rivalry between the drivers that would have happened maybe in the past or even in the present. But I would just generally say that it's something that happens between the teams. Mercedes wouldn't work with your Red Bull, for instance. Like right now, Honda was saying they're not going to be working with Formula One for next for the next from 2021 going upwards. That means that Red Bull doesn't have an engine that they will be. We don't know who will be working with them for that. So there is a rivalry between Mercedes and Red Bull, and that rivalry maybe because of the tough competition between the two teams. So I am not pretty sure of the rivalry between McLaren and Red Bull, but I would know the rivalry between maybe your Max Verstappen and your Daniel Ricciardo, because at one point they had they were fighting almost every day in and outside the field. And most of the time, you would just look at the character of the driver. We have mentioned in the past that I think your Red Bull driver, Your Max Verstappen is one guy who he's more like your Fernando Alonso. If you have watched F1 in the past, you would know that Fernando is such a selfish character kind of a person. I hope he doesn't watch this on YouTube. He just believes he just believes that, you know, I won the championship. It should be me and I need to get it. But people like to say I like to stand for Lewis, but Lewis is one person who likes teamwork, and he's one person who believes that me and Valtteri has to make sure that we win for the team. And even if he wants it, he also believes that I also have to work with the team. So with Max Verstappen is also the issue. So we could say, because now Ricardo is not with McLaren, I think that issue may be an issue of the past. Because Kirari, the question that we're asking, because at that point Ricardo was with McLaren, but now Ricardo is with Renault. So, and the relationship between Ricardo and Max is not that of good. Ricardo is one bubbly character. He's one person who's always, people like to say he's the most interesting character in F1, followed by Lando Norris. So he's one person who would actually, he had worked with a lot of people, and you wouldn't have that whatever. But he had issues with Max. They were fighting. They were always crashing on one another, making sure the other one doesn't finish the race. So it was always like that between the Australian man and your Dutch man. So I think that was the issue between the two players, and then it blowed out to the teams.
And then there's a comment that came in. Your good friend and Mercedes partner, Mr. Mercedes, his driver of the day, Daniel Kvyat, the one who finished in P4. Daniel, the guy who finished
P3.
P4.
Daniel Ricciardo.
The KYVAT guy. Lina na ako ng pala mo mas. Kayet, something like
Daniel Kvyat. Oh yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Daniel Kvyat. He's your Alpha Tauri guy. Yes. I do agree with him. Daniel Kvyat outdid himself, and I would have voted for him as well. He did. I think a lot of people did well this weekend. They made sure that they took with the mistake. You know, the good thing is when a mistake happens, you take advantage of it. And you know, Perry Gasly would have finished on podium. His partner or his teammate of the Alpha Tauri, he would have finished on podium. And unfortunately, whatever happened with his car happened. And Daniel Kvyat is not like your Alex Albon, who when somebody has an issue, he also has issues. Alex has an issue. Every time Max has a problem, he also has a problem. So unlike him, he did something very extraordinary. He finished P4, and he hasn't done that. He's always at the back. So I do agree with Motiviso on that one. Though I vote for Kimi. I still stand with Kimi though.
Where are we this weekend?
Are we having something this weekend? But I know we are having the Turkish Grand Prix. I want to believe it's the next one.
The next race.
The Turkish Grand Prix, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay. Paul, let's wrap things up. Oh, quick question. Why is Kimi Räikkönen still racing?
That's what I'm asking myself.
No, like, I think they should just give to someone else. Maybe a young guy, because honestly, I don't know.
Kimi loves racing. Kimi loves racing. And People love him, eh?
We love him, yes, but at the moment he's not. We need someone who's competitive, someone who can
He is.
challenge, but not
Why do you think
really.
he's not? No, I do agree with him. I think he should give to the young drivers, but you can't say Kimi is not doing well. I mean, look at his if you were saying let's compare him with his teammate, your Antonio Giovinazzi. Antonio is still the same level, and Kimi is far much better than Antonio. I mean, again, the issue comes to where do we all want to have, as much as I'm saying that I really love young drivers, being in the team. But at the same time, you're a soccer person. You know this. A team where we have, I mean, people who are a bit experienced, it's kind of boosting and everything like that. That's what the teams are trying to do, in F1 especially. I think Red Bull is one which has all young drivers. Red Bull. Most of them have young drivers, but Red Bull is one of the top teams. Is one which is Alex Albon is 23, I think, or 24, and Max Verstappen is 22. Yeah, but look at your Mercedes. Mercedes has experience there. Yes, I think they're trying to also have someone who's experienced and have from the young drivers academy. They will have someone who's also young. Mercedes have George Russell. George Russell is driving for the Williams. He's also part of the Mercedes Young, and Esteban Ocon as well is also part of the Mercedes Young Drivers Academy. So they're trying to have an experienced person as well as a young driver. So with Kimi and Antonio, I was pretty sure that Kimi was not going to go. The person that we were sure was going to go was Antonio Giovinazzi, and we were expecting Mick Schumacher to actually be on that seat because they're trying to have an experienced person and a young driver. So, but they didn't do anything. I mean, they didn't do anything because at the same time, right now we're expecting Nick to be. The whole point of keeping Kimi was to have Nick and Mick Schumacher, the son of Michael Schumacher, as well as Kim, just to get experience and everything like that and to develop the team. But they didn't do that. But I also believe Kimi should be released. But he seems to be loving racing. And he has mentioned, I love racing. I'm not doing it for money. I'm not doing it for anything. I just love doing what I'm doing every day.
But we want to see competition. But anyway, let's wrap it up. We'll get to do the tech Grand Prix once everything is done, and once we've confirmed the dates and everything. So as always, Paul, thank you for your insights. Thank you for your commentary. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. I hope we see each other again. We are just left with 4 games for the season, and already we know who is your constructors. And Valtteri Bottas still has a chance. He just needs to win every game. He just needs to win every Grand Prix from now on and make sure that he beats Lewis to win his game. He can do that.
You are bringing up another conversation. He'll ever beat Hamilton with four races. He can't win. That one we know, and Mercedes somehow are going to sabotage him so that Hamilton gets.
Again, before I go, I want to say this. People like to say Mercedes is sabotaging Valtteri Bottas. That is not. You know the team that are sabotaging their driver. Red Bull is one of them. Somebody was mentioning this last week. Max Verstappen is totally driving a different car from Alex Albon, and people are always smashing. Sebastian Vettel, Ferrari, one of them. They are not using the same. Mercedes AMG Petronas, aka Silver's Arrows. Lewis and Valtteri are driving the same car. That is why you're always seeing the difference between the two drivers being very minimal. So I honestly, I go with Silver Arrows. We are doing very well. We are giving them the same resources and say, go guys, go and drive. Let's see who's the best. And Valtteri is not beating Lewis at his game, but they are driving. So Mercedes is doing whatever it takes to make sure that their drivers can.
You're bringing in another point to say, then why are teams giving different drivers different cars? Why? What's the logic behind that? I know Verstappen is driving a different car and Albon is driving a different car. What's the justification behind that?
It's the same question where the other thing that we're discussing outside this platform, where we're talking about the gap between men and women in sports in terms of pay and whatever. It's the same. It's like, I don't know if I wanted to give you an example in a soccer kind of field. You know that your I don't know which example I can give. The drivers and the players are not the same. I was just giving you that scenario. I'm not saying Mercedes is totally out. Just like you would have your Valtteri ideas not being taken by, and Lewis's ideas being incorporated and seeing that in front. That's the same. Red Bull's contract with whatever and your honors, they actually have somebody they want to put their coin in, and that person will tell you, I want this and this and this and this. They will make things on the table. They will tell you, I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the other driver is neglected along the way because this one is giving more attention, better resources, better engineers, whatever, and the other one, just like that. It's just how it is. Sebastian Vettel was doing very well when he was loved at Ferrari. He was performing. I mean, people were saying that Sebastian is not doing very well because of this hybrid new era. But look at Seb. Let's be honest. This hybrid era, when did it start? Sebastian was still giving Mercedes a hard time in 2017, 2018, even 2019. They were doing very well. They were finishing on podium. They were winning Grand Prix. So I would say it's just how it is. It's a sport. It's generally across all sports. There are people who are preferred than the other.
Mpo, we have concluded the show and then we brought things on board. So for the final time, let's say goodbye to the people and
Bye-bye.
we'll talk again some other time. So have yourself.
Bye-bye.